News Radio KMAN weather.
Right now in Manhattan, partly cloudy skies, wind gusting as high as 26 miles an hour out of the south. Moving ahead to tonight, increasing clouds in a low around 65, wind gusting as high as 25. Heading into tomorrow, chance for showers and severe weather. Thunderstorms possible throughout the afternoon with a high near 83. Then tomorrow night, 40% chance of showers, and on Saturday, sunny and a high near 61. The game up next on News Radio KMAN.
Presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State Athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
There's always two sides to every story. For example, what we just witnessed there at Comerica Park in Detroit. One side of the story is that Detroit, with all their might and all their willpower, made a triumphant comeback with 3 runs with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning to walk it off. The other half of the story is the Royals stink. They find ways to lose. And like they did all series in Detroit, in either the 8th or the 9th inning, they found a way to lose.
And they just scored their allotment of runs for the month of May. So there's that part of it as well.
The Royals stink. Well, half the team stinks. I mean, the offense putting up 8 runs, that was immaculate, crazy. How did they do it? Salvi, Vinny, they're waking up. Salvi with the go-ahead home run, 3-run salami. Vinny adding on insurance. And then Detroit comes back and wins it. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf, we're only with you for 40 minutes today thanks to the Royals going super long for 2 reasons. 1, the rain delays. 2, the home plate umpire had the poops.
Yeah. Whatever he ate last night at wherever in Detroit, I mean, it got to him.
He had to take 2 breaks, and after the second one, he's like, I can't come back.
He called it a day.
I'm out.
He hung it up.
I'm out. I'm a scratch. I'm out of this thing. Take over, second base umpire. I can't call the balls and strikes.
Doubtful to return.
Yeah, I got my own issues. Well, here in a few moments, we're going to be joined by Trevor Hurley, former K-State pitcher. He's been doing color analyst work, either the radio or TV broadcast for the Bad Cats. We're going to talk pitching. We're going to talk what's up with this pitching staff. Why do they have a +8 ERA in Big 12 play? After I asked, of course, Pete Hughes the answer to that question, after the loss to Omaha 12-5. And a trickle-down effect was his answer. From the injuries of Carson Liggett, who for the second time now, and Coach confirmed this on Tuesday, Carson Liggett is out for the season. Out for the season. He's done. And this is the second year in a row that Carson is not playing. He didn't play all of last year. And then, of course, the second injury is Dante Lewis. Dante is going to have Tommy Johns. And what Pete was saying, what Coach Hughes was saying is those are 2 rotation arms that you're now without for the rest of the season. That does have a trickle-down effect. So I want to talk to Trevor Hurley about the trickle-down effect of rotational players, injuries, how that affects the rest of the team. And is he also seeing other things taking place that is adding to, it's more salt in the wounds. And let me tell you, folks, watching the pitching the last month has been pretty brutal. I mean, to me, it's more than just a trickle-down effect of injuries. I mean, guys are struggling to throw strikes, I think there is an argument to say, yes, there was maybe some of that last year. Maybe K-State had a little bit more luck based on guys that filled into the rotation and did a good job, did get inconsistent in the second half of Big 12 play, and arms were tired at the end of the year. But I mean, last year's team had a ERA in Big 12 play around 5, a little over 5, and now it's over 8 this year in Big 12 play. It's significantly worse. Significantly worse. So there's probably multiple layers to this. So I need a former pitcher to come on and tell us a little bit more information about what he is seeing. So the other topic I want to get to today, and we'll talk mostly about this after we speak with Trevor here in about 4 minutes, is that there was an article that came out, was it yesterday or was it today, from The Athletic?
I believe it was today.
David
Earlier
Ubben.
today.
Yeah, David Ubben from The Athletic. This was interesting. Basically, the NFL draft is a week from today, and he put out an article basically talking about some of these players that are coming into the NFL are taking a pay cut to play in the NFL or get a shot at playing in the NFL. And they were making more money in college football. That was basically the gist of the article. And one of the features in this article and some quotes in this article were from former K-State quarterback Will Howard, who, of course, left the Cats after the 23 season and in 24 played one season with the Ohio State Buckeyes and won a national championship. So there's some things, though, there's some quotes here from Will Howard in here that does tell one side of a particular story. And as you can imagine, have rubbed K-State fans the wrong way. So I definitely want to talk about that if we have certainly, time to do that, which we're going to get Trevor on the phone here in just a couple of minutes. But to give you kind of a quick preview of what we're going to talk about and some of the things Will Howard said is that year that Will wasn't about the money, was a naive kid. Avery was getting a lot more money, and politics led to him splitting time with Avery Johnson. That was Avery's freshman season in 2023. And, he knew because of certainly the money situation of him getting a lot less than Avery, he knew that was his last year at K-State. He was looking to move on. And moving on from K-State and going to Ohio State is the best decision he's ever made. First of all, I totally agree with that, Will. I totally agree that it was the best move for you to leave here. I would also argue it was the right move for K-State. The parting benefited both sides of this. You had hit your ceiling. Will Howard had hit his ceiling at K-State. There's no doubt if Avery doesn't come in, I say Avery coming in and either splitting time with Will or the Texas Tech game probably lit a fire under Will's butt, made him better because 2023 was not going as well as 22. But Avery is also K-State's arguably the best athlete. Highest rated recruit for K-State in state recruiting in history. You got to have your best athlete on the field doing something. It was still limited until after the Oklahoma State game where they started splitting time. Will has also to admit to himself that he wasn't playing very well. That Oklahoma State game was terrible. I mean, that was
really bad.
That was a Friday night game, right? I think we were doing a Manhattan game at the same time, and he threw 3 really bad interceptions.
Including a pick 6.
It wasn't all on Will Howard, though.
No.
It wasn't. That offensive line was struggling to pick up pressure. Will made some bad decisions with the football sometimes, thanks to that bad pressure. The chances of being an explosive offense was pretty limited. And that could just be due to a lack of firepower. I mean, that was the year Keegan Johnson comes in. He's banged up. Malik Knowles moves on. Deuce Vaughn moves on. It felt like Will, the only connection he had with anybody on the offense was Ben Sinnott or Hayden Gillum with their beer chugging celebrations or shotgunning beer celebration. That was one of the big highlights of the season. Avery comes in and steals the show. I mean, he was exactly what the offense was needing because the offense needed a spark in 2023. And Avery Johnson was that spark. All right, so I do want to talk more about this because there's more that Will said. We'll get to the full comments as we're going to hear from Trevor Hurley here in just a second. The Batcats will be at Arizona Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think the season is in the balance. Like it's hanging on to this weekend. K-State's still a bubble team. They're still in the field, according to bracketology from wherever you look, in the field as a 3 seed. Again, big part of it is their schedule, playing a tough schedule. They play in a tough league. They're still, they're still a good team. I mean, they're still a good team. This is one of the best offenses, if not the best offense that K-State baseball has ever had. This is one of the best offenses in college baseball is K-State. But this season hangs in the balance, I think, this weekend because Arizona hasn't been very good. They're definitely below 500. Their RPI standing is crap. You lose to Omaha. If you go into Tucson and lose that series, that is bad news, and that might be all she wrote on the season. But keeping that in mind, the last 3 Big 12 series, I think it's 3 that K-State still has after Arizona, very quality opponents. So maybe the schedule could save K-State once again. All right, we're pleased to be joined by former K-State pitcher and color analyst for K-State baseball, football, and radio. We're very pleased to be joined by a popular guest here on the show, that is Trevor Hurley. Trevor, first of all, I really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us here once again. First of all, I got to ask you about a funny thing on Sunday. We are both running to the bathrooms as we got a quick pitching change during extra innings. It made me think about what happens if you need to take a restroom break and a baseball game is going on. If you're in the dugout, okay, do you gotta ask for permission to go to the clubhouse to take a quick break?
No, you're good. And by the way, great, thanks for having me on, Mitch. It's a good question, but no, you can. When you're a player in a dugout, bathrooms are accessible. But here's the funnier side of that. I was a part of the South Atlantic League, so low A baseball, pro ball. I was a part of a 23-inning game, longest in Sally history, where I was joking with Matt Walters on Sunday. If it went even like 2 more innings longer, I'm just an old 38-year-old now where I'm like, I can't make it anymore. So no, if you're a player, you can get to the bathroom, all good. But it was funny seeing you, so that was a funny interaction we had.
We were lucky both bathrooms up top were available so we could get back to work as quickly as we possibly could. I was just talking about the offense there a little bit about where K-State is at offensively. It's one of the best I've ever seen. I wanted to get your reaction to, top to bottom, is this one of the best K-State offenses you've ever seen?
Without a doubt. And real quick, let's give some credit to Pete Hughes here and his staff. It's been the best offenses we've ever had for the past 2 or 3 years for sure. This one, again, they can really hit. I find myself, Mitch, kind of joking and laughing, and also as an alumni who roots for this school more than most fans do, I find myself saying, can we just pitch it a little bit? Like the pitching it's been frustrating. And because we guys, back in my day, we really begged for bats. Back when I was there in 06 to 08 and right after was the first regional in 09, we could pitch it. That's kind of how we got there. And today, I show up to games, I'm like, God, these guys, I wouldn't want to pitch against them. This is like old school Texas, Oklahoma. We have 1 through 9. They will burn you if you make a mistake. The problem has been, and again, is the talent there? Well, yes, but the problem's been we can't keep the other team off the board. So, yes, Mitch, this offense it's a lot of fun to watch. It gets you excited. Just maybe the critic in me is like, well, God, if we just pitched it. But yes, the offense is fantastic.
Well, yeah, mentioning pitching, that's clearly the biggest complaint. Everybody sees that this is a huge struggle right now. In Big 12 play, it's over 8 for their ERA. That's much worse than last year. I asked Coach about it after the game on Tuesday. I knew he wasn't happy about me asking it because that's probably all he's hearing about is that the pitching staff is struggling almost from top to bottom. But he mentioned a trickle-down effect, which is Carson Lee gets out, Dante Lewis is out. At this point of the season, those two could very well be in the weekend rotation, but that has now affected the rest of the staff. Do you agree with that? Do you see that? Is that a common thing in baseball when there's a couple of injuries?
Yeah, and I'm going to expand on that, okay? Because, yes, he's exactly right. And I will tell y'all, again, I'm from Houston, Texas, okay? And I was recruited by multiple schools down south. I was even joked from schools that that I chose not to go to about, hey, if you get too cold up north, call us up. It is hard to get arms to come to K-State. It's hard. It is hard. When you can pitch year-round in a warmer climate, if I can throw 94 in high school, I'm going to go somewhere warm because it just makes sense. It's weird, but it's a stigma. So it's hard for us to get guys to come. So when Coach Hughes and his staff and Rudy Darrow, when they get big arms like Carson Liggett and Dante Lewis, when they get them to come, we have to rely. Those guys are going to be important. And when they get hurt, it does impact us. We can't go as deep as a UCLA or a Texas or plug in your blue blood, right? We can't go as deep as they can. So that is a real problem. And that's a problem that they can't, the staff can't control that, right? Now, that being said, I mean, like, is it frustrating to tune into a game and see that we're losing a 17-15? Yeah, it's frustrating. It really is. And I'm right there with them. However, it's a real struggle. But again, you look for quality innings, and I still think guys for me, there's some guys who can take a step forward. It just hasn't happened yet. And that's the frustrating part to me is, hey, some guys got hurt, some guys aren't doing well. Step forward, and we haven't seen that. And that would be a player issue, not a coach issue. So I've been waiting to see who's going to make that jump, and I'm still waiting. And so that's the part where it's a little frustrating. But again, we can hit our way into any game and can beat anybody, but we got to get outs, and that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, Trevor, I mean, I look at, you make a lot of great points, and I agree with what you say. To me, I mean, though, watching this team pitch, it seems like, though, in the Pete Hughes era, there's still always been a solid 3 or 4 guys that you know who they are. They're going to come in, and the odds are they're going to do good things for you. Like, for example, like a Tyrell last year, or a Tyson Neighbor, like just to think of a couple of names here coming out of the bullpen. It just seems like, and tell me if you agree or disagree, that right now there's maybe 1 or 2 guys at best that you feel like you do know what you're going to get when they come in. It feels really unpredictable just based on who's going to throw strikes or not.
Well, no. So again, Mitch, so I got to toe carefully being alumni
Sure.
and being supportive, but 100% agree. I will tell you that the talent, again, I got to be careful, but this is the facts. The talent level of what's coming out of this bullpen, and again, you have some top end injury. We just talked about the injuries, and that affects the whole deal because some of these guys who have to start or who are the first out of the bullpen would be pushed down a couple rungs, but now they're not. So yes, the talent coming out of the bullpen, I'm with you, Mitch. It's not a matter of and again, when they don't throw strikes, big problem. I mean, I don't care if you throw 100. If you don't throw strikes, we know what's going to happen. You're going to walk a guy, and you'll walk the next guy. But when you factor in, we're struggling to throw strikes, and then it's not that quality of strikes when we throw them. And again, so like Taz Butler, he's got great talent, but on Sunday, it's an 0-2 count, and you can't let a curveball be hung at the thigh high to a guy who is hitting in the 8-hole or 9-hole. I don't remember what hole that the second baseman was hitting in.
8.
But he hits a 3-run home run. 8-hole. Okay, he hits a 3-run home run, and it's like he's hitting 220 on the year. That can't happen. And to me, that's a mental approach. It's a whether Taz, again, physical errors happen. It's okay. I did it my whole life. I hung balls to guys I shouldn't have. But in that scenario, when you're 0-2, he was rolling. He had got through a tough inning. Taz had pitched 3 or 4. I mean, and he needed the good outing, and he had it. And you just got to bury 2 balls, 3 balls in a row, and he's going to strike out. And you hang a 0-2 pitch. That's where it's frustrating. And again, it's not a coaching thing. It's not a talent thing. That's just an execution thing. But it can't happen there. And it seems to keep happening on the mound. And again, Pete Hughes is aware of that. He's got to answer questions the way he does. He's got a team. He's the head coach. But our problem is pitching, and we got to find a way to at least mirror what the offense can do, because the offense will carry this team as far as the pitching will go. But there's a saying in baseball: you're only as good as your next day starter. And right now, I hold my breath because that's the problem is pitching. It just is. It's the elephant in the room.
team does seem like they do have the case of the hot hand. Just depends on when and where. I do like Adam Arthur right now. I think he's looking really good. Cohen Feeser had been that guy. He just had a really rough outing on Sunday. Aaron Arnold was up there, I would say. Is Miles Smith, but he was those guys I just mentioned were not available to pitch on Tuesday against Omaha because they pitched quite a bit this weekend against Oklahoma State. Is there one or two guys, though, that have, like, you think they do have the best stuff on the team or the most reliable or maybe just the most talented?
Well, so good. That's a great question. And yes, you're tracking. If I got a lefty coming up, I'm going Arthur. Right-handed, I like Taz. I like Miles Smith. They both, when they're on, and I'll say this on air, when I'm doing radio or ESPN Plus, I'll say it on air. When these guys are on, they're commanding the fastball away to a righty, into a lefty, and they're commanding their slider. That works every time. The problem has been they have struggled to repeat that. And so when you don't have a deep bullpen and you don't have, again, it's just facts, right, Mitch? Like we don't have the arms the SEC bullpens do. So when you have to rely on 3 to 4 guys that you feel good with, but you need them to be on, that makes it tough because they're still kids and they're not going to be on every day. But when they struggle, you have to ride them out a little bit because your next guy, you're not ready for yet. You don't want to go there yet. Like we don't have that depth, and so that's kind of been the hardest part. And again, Coach Hughes, I'll speak for him. He won't say this, but like that's a hard thing as a coach. Like I coached 2 years after I played pro ball with K-State with Coach Hill. It's a very difficult deal to navigate when they see them all fall. They see them all year. They know what they have, but they need that guy to show up. And when he doesn't show up and he kind of lays an egg on you, you're stuck in a corner. And so that's where we're kind of at. We don't have a big depth of a bullpen and arms. We rely on a couple guys. And we've seen it. When Taz is on, when Miles Smith has had outings this year where like the big league teams won't hit him. I mean, he would go punch out every single guy, but then he's had outings where it's like, hey, have you ever pitched before? And so that's frustrating. It's hard. It's very difficult.
You're going to be watching this weekend very closely because, the season could come down to this weekend based on the lack of success Arizona's had this year. So it's got to be a must-win series, right? A sweep? Okay. So real quick, having played it and done it, a sweep on the road, yeah, that'd be bonus. I will say it's a must. I always struggle saying a must-win series because there's always more behind it. There's 2 or 3 more behind it. But yes, Mitch, this is Arizona was touted as a top 10 team in the country. They have more injuries than most anyone else in the country, so they've struggled. Now you're still on the road. It's a Big 12 series. They're still talented. They just won a weekend. Did they beat TCU in a weekend series? I think. So or was it? I don't. Either way, Arizona is kind of finding some wins. K-State is running out of time, though. Okay, and so that's where I'm like, you just won your first home series was last weekend against Oklahoma State. Should have had a sweep, you didn't. That's a huge win you didn't get. You got to go on the road now, and you come back. And KU, by the way, is coming to Manhattan, and they're set up to host a regional. You don't have time, and so yes, Mitch, I will tell you, I'm going to say it. I hate saying it. It's a must-win series. I don't know. It's not a must-win sweep. A sweep on the road is a big deal no matter how bad they are. But you got to win a series. You got to find a way to go right the ship, go win 2 out of 3 on the road, and find a way to get back pointing north, if that makes sense. You're right. That series win was against TCU last weekend. That's their only Big 12 series win of this season. Trevor, appreciate you finding time for us. You're a busy guy, so I really appreciate it, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Likewise, man. It's always a pleasure.
Trevor Hurley, former K-State pitcher, joining us here on The Game. Let's take a break. More on the Will Howard story when we come back. Whether it's game day or a night out with great live music, Bottle Cap Sports Bar delivers the atmosphere you're looking for. It's Manhattan's go-to spot for catching every Wildcats or Chiefs game and enjoying live music that plays the songs you actually know. Come early for a good seat, great music, and cold drinks served up right. Stay in the loop. Check out their Facebook page for the full schedule of events. Bottle Caps, where the music's live, the game's always on, and the vibe is just right.
Bottle Cap Sports Bar located on West Anderson across from Dairy Queen. This is Brad Jones, owner of Home of the Flint Hills. When someone you love needs memory care, it's not just a decision, it's personal. At Home of the Flint Hills, we offer memory care in a warm, home-like setting where residents are known by name, not their room number. We provide compassionate care for every stage from early memory loss to advanced dementia. We currently have immediate memory care openings available. If you need help now, call 785-494-2600 today to schedule a tour. Home of the Flint Hills, Christ-driven, family-owned, uniquely yours.
The Ramsey Show.
My husband purchased a $300,000 McLaren knowing that he was going to lose his job, and we're living on my income in Southern California. And
which is what?
Less than $100,000.
The car is the symptom of him doing extreme behaviors.
Man.
I agree.
And it's terrifying you. Terrifying me listening to it.
There's something going on.
Yeah, it's really frightening.
Life and money advice. The Ramsey Show, weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
The Power Rangers theme brings us back in. The game on KMAN. We're skipping everything, folks. We're just getting right down to the conversation, getting right down to business. I want to go back to the Avery Johnson Will Howard story that we were just talking about before, speaking with Trevor Hurley for a few moments. And again, I appreciate him. He's a very busy guy, squeezing us into his schedule to talk some Bad Cats. Great stuff from Trevor, as always. Breaks it down in ways that maybe we won't think about when it comes to K-State's pitching. So a lot of good stuff there. All right, so back to this Will Howard story. The Athletics' David Ubben putting out a story earlier. Basically, the gist of it is college football quarterbacks are making more money in college than they are in the NFL, especially if they're later round draft picks like a Riley Leonard, a Will Howard, who of course played each other in a national championship game a couple of seasons ago. But there were a couple of quotes here from Will Howard that definitely, as a K-State fan, it'll catch you off guard a little bit. I'm hearing honesty from Will Howard in these, and I appreciate that. But like I said, there's two sides to the story. So getting to these quotes here, I want to read a couple of them. So this is about Will Howard, time before heading to Ohio State, playing 4 seasons at K-State, played 27 games. In 23, he set the passing record for touchdowns with 25. Avery then tied that in 2024. But sharing time with Avery Johnson coming into the mix, here's what Howard had to say. Will said that I was a naive kid. I didn't know, the nature of myself. I didn't want anything when it comes to money. I said I was good. There were a lot of politics the last year. There were games. I was splitting time with him for no reason. And I knew other than there was money going to him, that wasn't going to me. So a couple of things there. One of the big lines there that's going to stand out is that he was splitting time with Avery for no reason. That's not true. I mean, there was a pretty big reason, and that is the K-State offense. Prior to that, the 3 of the last 4 games prior to Avery going off against Texas Tech, the K-State offense was very inconsistent. There were some bad turnovers. It needed a jump. It needed a jump start. In Lubbock, Will was struggling to move the football. They had 3 points until Avery came into the game. There were struggles. The Oklahoma State game was a disaster. They got it done against UCF with the ground game. And then prior to that was the Missouri game, which that was a battle. And Will was playing a little bit banged up. There was a toughness factor there missing, but Mizzou was bringing a lot of pressure. Avery did get to come into the game, touch the ball, run it a few times. Look, the Avery Johnson package, as one of your best athletes, was still pretty slim. He was running the ball, some Wildcat stuff, but it was pretty slim. It wasn't anything when it comes to the pecking order of quarterback. It was Will's no longer the guy. It's now Avery Johnson. It was nothing like that. It was just Blake Barnett. Got a lot of playing time, and it was probably too much. They didn't do too much at the time with Avery. They were still very slim film on Avery Johnson. The other thing is about the money. This is very important to remember that NIL is still fairly new. NIL is still fairly new at this time. Will was a part of a very transitional period of college athletics. I mean, first of all, you had to deal with COVID, right? COVID was one thing. You got NIL, coming around there. I mean, there was a whole lot going on, right? But NIL is a really big one. Will Howard didn't know better. Says he didn't need money. Avery was getting money. I don't understand necessarily the complaint there. If he's saying he didn't need the money, that's one thing. K-State was preparing for the future, is a part of this story as well. You got to have one of your best athletes on the field. He was a boost to the offense. There was a reason that he played. The offense needed Avery Johnson on the field to spark some things. But at the time when you want to talk about NIL, to me this really wasn't about NIL. There was this factor that if Will was to stay another year, does Avery Johnson stay another year? And there goes your future plan at quarterback. I mean, that's a big reason why there was a parting of who's going to be the quarterback of the future. Obviously, that's Avery when he's being the younger quarterback, and he's very talented guy. And we know that it was the best decision for Will to leave because look what happened at Ohio State. It was the best thing to happen to him. He was great at K-State, don't get me wrong. 2022, his run coming in for an injured Adrian Martinez was fantastic. He'll always be a Big 12 championship winner at K-State. Now, more to this from Will Howard. He said, everything I did was on my own. They kind of took advantage of me and got me for cheap. So I decided to go somewhere else and made a little bit of money. Again, we're going back to the money part of this, and this is the reason of the story anyway, but I go back to, again, reading more of this quote here. It's different when you go to school and you're the guy getting the money. It's amazing how different you're treated. It was the best decision I ever made, again, going to Ohio State, but taking advantage of him, I still think at that time, K-State was a little still trying to figure out how all this NIL stuff works. Take advantage. Again, you said the money thing, you didn't need it. Avery was getting money because that's what it was going to take at that time, which was different from your recruiting, to get somebody like Avery to K-State. Money had to be involved with NIL being so new, but K-State wasn't even working with Wildcat NIL at the time. That didn't come until after that season. I remember in December, it was the signing day press conference, and Chris Kline was like, look, we need to take this NIL thing more seriously. We, as K-State, need to invest our efforts a lot better in NIL. K-State, I don't know how seriously they were certainly taking NIL at this point. So I thought it was a little bit of a low shot there from Will Howard to bring that up. But again, I can't really speak on all of that because I didn't know exactly what was going on behind the scenes. But what I do know is Avery was on the field for a reason. And Will should look at that as lighting a fire under his butt at that point in time. Because ever since that happened, when they were splitting time against TCU, all right, Will Howard showed he's still the better guy. He's the one that deserves to be first string. Avery kind of disappeared. And it was back to Will's team. Went to a Pop-Tarts Bowl, won 8 regular season games. It was still fine for Will Howard, but it was Avery's time to take over.
I find it all a little bit frustrating, to be honest. I think the way that K-State left, or the way that Will Howard left K-State, I think all sides were pretty okay with what had transpired in terms of what Will Howard was to the football program and to the university, in terms of he was a starting quarterback on a Big 12 championship winning football team. And then you get your money, you get paid at Ohio State, you go on to win a national championship. And by the way, it was not an insignificant amount of money at Ohio State. He said it was more at Ohio State than he's made by year in the NFL, which is over $1.1 million. So he got paid. He won a national championship. And I think there was no hatred or disdain from K-State towards Will Howard, or I thought vice versa. You thought they kind of left on pretty good terms, and it was kind of a symptom of what was just going to happen naturally with Avery Johnson behind him, because you're going to have fans who are demanding you see Avery Johnson play because he's the home state kid. You saw him in flashes during that 2023 season. And instead, a couple of years later, now we're taking pot shots at K-State. I have a little bit of a problem with it. It's whatever, I guess. But it's just like, what was wrong with what happened, and you got to read between the lines a little bit. As you said, he was not playing great in the beginning of that season. Like, it wasn't for no reason. And also, again, the drums were being banged for Avery Johnson to get some playing time. He played against Texas Tech, and, I mean, that hype was at an all-time high. The 5 rushing touchdown game, it was like, all right, let's see Avery Johnson in there, QB1. The very next week, I believe, was TCU, and Will Howard was still starting quarterback. So it's not like K-State, took their eggs out of that basket. I understand Avery played a little bit more in that game, but I just think it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest.
I want to add a little bit of another piece of information there about that. Going into that TCU game, remember on the depth chart, it comes out every week on Monday, it wasn't Will Howard and then Avery Johnson. It was an or. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a number 1 quarterback going into that game. They knew they would probably split some time, but didn't know if it'd be 50-50, it'd be 60-40, 70-30, whatever it was. Chris Kleiman didn't know at that time what it was going to look like. We knew that Avery Johnson was going to play. And at that time, he was much better for K-State's offense than Will Howard, based on he could just run it all over the field, and nobody had film on that quite yet. And so Avery was able to do his thing. I mean, as a freshman, Avery was way ahead of Will based on just God-given talent and being a more gifted dual-threat quarterback. And Will Howard moving on to Ohio State, that was also not only great for Will, that was great for Ohio State because they bring in a 5th-year guy that has a ton of experience, can play pro style, he is a pro style, have a lot better talent around him, and for Ohio State, they got a placeholder until Julian Sayin is ready to go that next year after learning a year under his belt watching Will Howard and the team win a national championship.
I'd say it was a win-win-win-win. It was good for Oklahoma State, K-State, Avery Johnson, Will Howard. Like, there were no negative aspects to this, and now a couple of years later, now it's we're throwing some disses over at K-State. I don't know.
Well, I think we do expect though, if anybody wants to argue who's the better quarterback, well, I mean, they're two very different quarterbacks. But Will does have a Big 12 championship over Avery. Will's been a lot closer, obviously. Avery has, it's been a struggle to finish season strong. Now, obviously, with a new head coach in and a team that certainly seems to be very fired up right now. And energy is through the roof there at the Veneer Football Complex. Yeah, should this be another preseason of high expectations? Yeah, why not? You're in the Big 12, you're K-State. There should be high expectations for Avery Johnson's senior season. All right, let's see. What do we got to do here? You lead the way.
I mean, if you wanted to, we can do a miniature Ask Us Anything because we got about 40 seconds. I was just going to say, it's kind of been the theme of today. Any inopportune times that you had to use the restroom at a bad time, thanks to the umpires earlier today.
Oh, yeah. Public address announcing.
Sure.
Especially that first year during football, there's no getting up during the game. I think there was I remember one overtime KU game. I was dying. And of course it goes to overtime and I got to battle through it. Yeah, it happens too often. Happens at home all the time. It's like I'm trying to watch Wheel of Fortune. All right, we got to wrap it up. We're back tomorrow 4 to 5:30. Go Cats.
American Family Insurance.
Rob Wild here from Wilderness